When you are focused on creating a new reality, you are inevitably needing to leave behind the old. Leaving behind the old so that you can move into new and fresh energy. So, as you are leaving your old timeline, you are focusing on the new behaviors that your new embodiment is taking on, the new actions, the new thought patterns. So this is how we are creating new realities. We create them by becoming something entirely new through the process of our evolution. So if you are to keep repeating patterns over and over and over and over, there's no way that you can receive new results. If you want to live in different spaces, if you want to feel a different way, if you want to create something new, all of that, if you want to change your finances, if you want to change your relationships, right? These are all reflections of your inner alchemy, all reflections of what you are vibrating within and what frequency you are tuning your vibration to. So in all moments, this is what you are blooming. This is what you are becoming. It's constantly something fresh and alive. So it's not healthy for the being to stay in patterns years after years after years. This is why creating new realities for yourself is so important, because by creating new realities, you're pushing your beingness into new territories. You are pushing yourself into new areas of growth. It is like the seed cracking and opening and beginning to sprout in the springtime within the earth. But how have you been cultivating your soil? How have you been nourishing your inner soil? So as we've been in winter where we've had all of this time to take care of this richness of the dark soil. So what have you been doing this winter to stir this richness into the soil and bring the nutrients into the soil so that you can bloom into the spring to create your new realities? So this is a really exciting time. It's a really exciting time to create what is new, to allow that nutrient-rich soil, which you have been steeping frequently within your being, and releasing the old in order to bring into your new experience right now. So in this space is full freedom for whatever reality that you want to create. That is what is so powerful about your ability to choose in a universe that we live in, which has infinite potential for you to create anything you want. So why would you or anyone want just the bare minimum to experience in a place that you chose to incarnate, when you can experience freedom on all levels of your being? Why would that be? The only reason any being would choose to live in a small space of, and when I say that, a small space of consciousness, right? For some of you, this might reflect in an actual physical small space as well. Maybe you want to expand out of that space into something bigger, give you space, breath, air, right? So whatever that means to you. But in this space of you creating new realities, when you can experience infinite freedom on all levels of your being, it's that space which you are allowing yourself to experiment with, allowing yourself to play with, allowing yourself to open new doors, new territory. So at this time, you are being asked, how do you wish to expand? How can you widen your expanse to open up new potentials of being within yourself that you haven't yet experienced? How can you allow your being to bloom into new territory? So a lot of this, when it comes to creating new realities, is all to do with full self-responsibility of being, taking on where you have limitations in order to move past them. If you have a mental limitation where you find yourself moving in repetitive thought cycles, which make you feel that you can't move into new territory, then it's your responsibility to identify and find out what thought patterns are keeping me separate from the reality that I know I am destined to live. So do you take that time to clear those energies and to move into new territory? Or do you allow those thoughts to keep playing like on repeat within your mind? Okay, and the same goes for, let's say you're living in a space you want to leave. Then what is keeping you from leaving that space, right? And what does that really represent? Leaving that space, leaving those thoughts. Okay, it all has to do with your inner space, right? That inner movement, moving towards that freedom in your being, has nothing really to do with that outer movement until you recognize first that inner movement. Oh, I see I've been telling myself I can't do this for this many years, or this many months, or this many days. Okay, I see I need to correct that energy from I can't do this to I haven't been letting myself do this, and just admitting that. And then once you admit that, you can then recreate a new spell. I can do so-and-so, whatever that is. So maybe that feels like a far jump for you. So if that feels like a far jump for you, what about today I will take so-and-so action, right? Taking a new action to expand my belief on this and this. See? So do you see how in increments it's so much easier? Instead of looking at something and saying, wow, this is big, right? I if you feel one of those things, I can't tackle this in a day. Then you break it down, you make it easy for yourself, you make it simple. And you say, okay, you take a radical aligned action, one a day, one radical aligned action a day, until you feel that it's breaking that belief. Because these false beliefs that are firmly believed in, or that you've believed in up until this point, what happens is they have just been these repetitive thought cycles. They've just been these repetitive thought cycles. That's all they have been, which have become ingrained in you. So they become patterns within your DNA that you have to change, that you have to alter. And this is exactly what happens with children. When you have children, you pass on your DNA to your child. So this is why it's so important to clear these DNA patterns before having children, so that you give your child the full opportunity for freedom. So as you recognize these patterns which hold you back from living your the fullness of your highest reality. You break them down, you simplify them, and you turn the internal shifts, right? The internal conversation, the internal vibration, the internal emotion towards that energy which you are shifting and changing, towards the highest possible outcome. Towards the highest possible outcome. And once you do this, what then you do in tandem with this is then you create the actions that support that. You take the radical aligned actions so that you are moving fully from the inner realms of your being to the outer manifestation. So in that space, what begins to happen is you begin, when you take this movement, right, being extremely vigilant within your being, changing these patterns, energetic, mental, emotional, physical, on all levels of being. So your inner vigilance is paying that attention towards all of these levels of consciousness within your being so that you can change fully from A to Z, the entire spectrum of your inner climate and reality in alignment with source, in alignment with inspiration that flows from source. And you will be guided perfectly what actions to take. So you take that inner and outer movement so that you're not leaving anything out. And what begins to happen through this is your light begins to blossom. Your magic begins to turn on. Your energy begins to shift. Your energy begins to change. You begin to lose resistance, right? Because all of this is pretty much you discarding and finding identities that are in your way, false identities. You aren't taking on identities for this to create new realities. You're discarding. You're discarding them because it's the identities that are keeping you away from freedom on all levels of being. So you become the witness of them, the identities that are arising in you. You observe them, you see that they're false, and then you discard them. You discard the identities and you keep discarding these identities that are saying, you shouldn't have this, you shouldn't have that, you shouldn't go there, you shouldn't be this way, all these sorts of things that are all false. So what you're doing when you discard these realities is you're freeing up your being so that you're not attached to your identity or identities that you discover, which are keeping you in limitations of your consciousness and not allowing you to expand into new and vast territory that you can, right? You can. You don't have to. You can keep playing out the same patterns if you want, but you can allow those identities to fall away, and you can find out that they're not original to you and that they're not original to source, and they're simply masks, right? They're simply temporary masks that were worn, which got you to a certain space within your experience by choosing to wear that mask in a way. It's just a limitation, though. It's like a stepping stone. But what begins to occur through consciousness is these stepping stones end up you finding, okay, step by step, I remove a layer, I remove a layer, I remove a layer, I remove a layer. But then you begin to see that, oh, okay, I can move like this, or I can remove all of these layers by abiding with source, by emptying my being, right? And this takes work. This takes work for a time until you stop identifying and stop identifying and stop identifying and stop identifying with the false beliefs that have held you small. So these false beliefs have many different variations. Many different variations of being these identities have. And they can be very, very hard to find. That's why it takes time and development of discernment and deep inner alchemy and deep outer alchemy in your physical manifestations. Some beings think that they can skip the physical reality and somehow magically everything will happen. It's like you have to do all of the inner and outer work on every single level of being. And if you try and skip anything, it will not go away. And you are already facing that right now, where that limitation is. So you have to face it now. You have to face whatever that limitation is in order for you to transcend it, for you to move beyond it. So what can you do? What can you do? What is that answer for you in your situation, in your current experience, for you to be able to be free on all levels of being, inner to outer, in the ways that you wish to be, the ways that you wish to be, not someone else, not what parents or society or blah, 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 or whoever it is, the way you envision in that unique way that you do. Entirely unique to your vision. What is New Earth to you? When I begin tuning into New Earth, the amount of visions that arise in me, exquisite visions on all levels of being, it's my unique dream to me. So everyone is creating New Earth, or everyone is creating a Earth, but we here are creating New Earth according to our highest visions. So look at your limitation right now, or limitations that are keeping you disconnected from the reality that you want, whether that is the inner freedom you seek, whether that is an outer freedom or a perceived outer freedom, right? And find out what is the inner freedom within me or inner limitation that's not allowing me to also have that outer freedom in the way that I do. So whatever level you are working on, you take time, right? You take time, you stop what you're doing, you always focus on your inner work first. Your devotion, your sacred devotion, moment to moment devotion is that. And you tune in and you find out, where am I holding this limitation, and what identity, what false identity is this associated to? Okay. To live in full abundance, full sovereignty, full expansion. No limitations on your reality. No limitations on your reality. Some might say, oh, well, I don't need this and I don't need this. It's like, oh, do you really not need those things? Or is that just the excuse so you don't have to do the inner work and the physical work in order to get there? That's a really big deal, really big deal. So it's just about being honest with yourself about where you hold your limitations and what you truly desire to expand into in your full freedom, of what you want. Not what anyone else wants, not anyone else's conversation for you, okay? About your conversation, your inner conversation with spirit, with the divine, and how you choose to manifest upon this planet. There is no limitation that cannot be broken down. Broken down. and gotten to the very core so that you could be free. And you can move past that limitation. So I send you guys my celebration for you to move past what limitation is now pushing you to this next stage of your evolution. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you soon. Bye.